Beach. A beach is a landform made up of loose particles that is located next to a body of water. Typically, the elements that make up a beach are either from biological sources, such as mollusk shells or coral and algae, or from rock sources, such as sand, gravel, shingle, pebbles, etc. Depending on the local wave movement and weather, sediments settle in a variety of densities and structures, giving rise to a variety of material textures, colors, and gradients. The majority of beaches are found along coastlines where wave or current action deposits and rework sediments, although some beaches do occur on interior freshwater places such as lakes and rivers. Natural processes, such as wave action and severe weather events, cause erosion and change in coastal geology. Beaches can be supported by coastal dunes if the wind conditions are ideal, which provides protection and promotes beach regeneration. However, due to climate change, these natural forces have intensified, irreversibly modifying beaches at extremely quick rates. According to some projections, up to 50% of the world's sandy beaches could vanish by 2100 as a result of sea level rise brought on by climate change. About 1/3 of all coasts are made up of sandy beaches. The local tourism businesses are frequently fueled by these beaches, which are well liked for enjoyment and play significant economic and cultural significance. Some beaches feature built-in amenities including lifeguard stations, restrooms, showers, shacks, and bars to facilitate these activities. They might also have surrounding homes for year-round and seasonal residents, as well as hospitality establishments, such lodges, campers, motels, and restaurants. Indirect human influences include water pollution, plastic pollution, and coastal erosion from sea level rise and climate change, while direct human impacts include poor construction practices on dunes and coastlines. Human forces have substantially altered beaches around the world. While certain coastal management techniques actively repair or conserve natural beach processes, other techniques, including beach nourishment, actively rehabilitate some beaches. Maritime waste on a Hawaiian beach. Wild beaches, often referred to as unknown or undeveloped beaches, have not been created for travel or leisure. Beaches that have been preserved are significant biomes that play significant roles in aquatic or marine biodiversity, such as serving as sea turtle breeding grounds or seabird or penguin nesting habitats. Inland ecosystems and human infrastructure benefit from protected beaches and the related dune from extreme weather. Formation. Sand and other loose sediments that make up the beach are moved by waves or currents while they are held in suspension. This is how beaches are formed. Alternately, saltation may be used to shift sand, a bouncing movement of large particles. Beach materials derive from offshore rock erosion as well as scree deposits produced by headland erosion and slumping. A large source of sand fragments is an offshore coral reef. Some fish species can produce significant amounts of sand over the course of their lifetimes as they nibble during feeding, digesting the organic matter, and expelling the rock and coral particles that pass through their digestive tracts. These fish species feed on algae attached to coral outcrops and rocks. The kind and quantity of sediments upstream of the beach, as well as the flow rate, water turbidity, and wind speed, all affect the beach's composition. Depending on the size of the particles and the degree of compaction, sediments are carried by wind and flowing water. In motionless water, particles usually settle and clump together. They are more erosion resistant after being compacted. By reducing the fluid movement at the surface layer, established vegetation, particularly species with intricate network roots, can withstand erosion. Particles that are eroded and held in suspension will increase the erosive power of the fluid that holds them when they are influenced by moving water or wind because they raise the average density, viscosity, and volume of the moving fluid. Smaller particles will be suspended in a murky water column and moved to calmer places by longshore currents and tides on coastlines exposed to particularly powerful wind and wave systems. The tendency is for finer sediments like clay and mud to settle along coasts that are shielded from winds and waves, resulting in mud flats and mangrove forests. Whether a beach is made of sand or shingle and whether the waves are constructive or destructive determine the contour of the beach. When there is enough time between wave crests for the breaking water to recede and the sediment to settle before the next wave arrives and breaks, the waves are considered constructive. If the receding water percolates or soaks into the beach, fine sediment carried from lower down the beach profile will compact. Sediment that has been compacted is more resistant to the movement of turbulence caused by following waves. If the time between wave crests is short, on the other hand, waves can be devastating. When the next wave crests, sediment that is still in suspension will not be able to settle and compact, making it more vulnerable to erosion from longshore currents and receding tides. The type of sediments found on a beach typically reveals the strength of the nearby wind and waves. Material is moved up the beach by constructive waves, while it is moved down the beach by destructive waves. The shallows will contain more sediment and organic debris in suspension during seasons when destructive waves are common. On sandy beaches, the destructive waves churning backwash clear debris to create a gently sloping beach. On pebble and shingle beaches, the swash dissipates more quickly due to the big particle sizes, increased capacity for percolation, which lessens the force of the backwash while maintaining the steepness of the beach. A smooth beach surface made of compacted fine sand will fend off erosion from the wind and water. Ocean beaches may develop a crust during hot, quiet seasons as the sun's heat evaporates the water, leaving the salt, which crystallizes around the sand particles. Unless it is disturbed by animals or washed away by the rising tide, this crust creates an additional layer of protection that prevents wind erosion. Where incoming waves split, cusps and horns form, depositing sand as horns and scouring off sand to form cusps. Some sand shorelines have an uneven face as a result, because the quartz or worn limestone in the sand scatters or reflects sunlight without absorbing other colors. White sand beaches seem white. Sand colors. The local geology and minerals have an impact on the sand's composition. Beaches all across the world have different kinds of sand, including white sand is primarily composed of quartz and limestone, but it can also include feldspar and gypsum. The most prevalent sand color in southern Europe and other Mediterranean basin countries like Tunisia is light-colored sand, which receives its color from quartz and iron. Tropical white sand is made up of calcium carbonate from the shells and skeletons of marine animals, such as corals and mollusks, and is typical of tropical islands like Aruba. Similar to the sand mentioned above, pink coral sand is made of calcium carbonate and derives its pink color from coral pieces, which may be found in Bermuda and the Bahamas. Black sand, the volcanic rock that gives black sand its gray-black hue, is obsidian and basalt. Examples of this kind of sand include the Ajui Beach on Fuerteventura, Madeira's Praia Formosa, and Hawaii's Punaluu Beach. Red sand, iron from volcanic rocks oxidizes to produce this type of sand. Examples of this type of sand are the beaches on Prince Edward Island in Canada or Kakini Beach in Santorini. Sand that is orange has a lot of iron. It may also consist of volcanic deposits, shattered shells, and orange limestone. Examples of each are Ramla Bay in Gozo, Malta, or Portoferro in Sardinia. The mineral olivine has been isolated from other volcanic shards in green sand by erosive mechanisms. Papacolia Beach in Hawaii, which includes sand including coral and basalt fragments, is a well-known example. Project Vesta is looking into the possibility of using artificial green sand beaches on olivine beaches, which have a high potential for carbon sequestration. Inappropriate beach nourishment. Importing and depositing sand or other sediments is known as beach nourishment, and it is done to repair beaches that have been eroded and destroyed. Excavating sediment from riverbeds or sand quarries is a common method of beach nourishment. The size and look of this excavated silt may differ significantly from that of the naturally occurring beach sand. In extreme circumstances, beach nourishment may entail laying down huge pebbles or rocks in an effort to permanently rebuild a shoreline that is prone to ongoing erosion and loss of foreshore. This is frequently necessary where the construction of harbors, breakwaters, causeways, or boat ramps has disrupted the flow of new sediment caused by the longshore current, resulting in new current flows that scour the sand from behind these structures and deprive the beach of restorative sediments. Beach replenishment may be required as a permanent part of beach management if the causes of the erosion are not addressed. Care must be given while placing new sediments during beach replenishment activities so that they compact and stabilize before being severely eroded by wind or waves. A temporary groin could emerge if material is concentrated too far down the beach, which would induce scouring behind it. If the sediments are too light or fine, they may disintegrate before they can compress or become a part of the existing plant. Unwashed foreign sediments may bring vegetation or wildlife that aren't typically present in that area. In an effort to prevent the higher portion of Brighton Beach on the south coast of England from eroding, very large pebbles have been added to the shingle beach. Until natural processes incorporated the naturally occurring shingle into the pebble substrate, these huge pebbles made the beach unwelcoming for pedestrians.
Thank you for watching. View more our channel videos.